It is a daily exercise and ritual to be out in public. And if you don't practice, you kind of forget how until you get back on that bike again. The only way to break that cycle is to go out, face the wrath of the public, and realize that the wrath of the public doesn't exist. I'm not tied anymore to the expectation of what I should be. I'm very much like just being who I want to be, because that's the happiest way to be.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Soul Kink Therapy. My name is Emily Letts. I am a therapeutic dominatrix and coach based in Boulder, Colorado. And this is the podcast where we explore gender expansive babes and kinks and fetishes and patterns, all in the name of liberation. Today, I'm honored to welcome Savannah Hauk to the podcast. Welcome, Savannah.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm so excited.
Yay! Savannah is a podcaster. She's an author. She's a TEDx speaker. She's a woman about town, self-proclaimed, who specifically talks publicly about gender expansiveness, about levels of transness, and touching on also what it means to be a crossdresser, if that is the right word or not. Does that sound right,
Yes, that
Savannah?
sounds good to me.
So tell me, right when we were exploring, okay, how should we introduce you? You mentioned, I rarely use the term cross-dressing anymore. It doesn't feel like it quite fits. Can you actually talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And and as a writer, it's always self-exploration. Half the time
Mm,
I'm writing, I'm discovering something about myself or working through something. And by the time I got to my third book, there was this notion that I had accepted the word transvestite in
mm.
1996. You don't need to know how old I am now. Um, And then I quickly dismissed it. I didn't like it because transvestite was too close to training, which was very stigmatized in the 90s.
Right.
So crossdresser, very benign, very, on the nose about what it was. And so I had the label for years and years and years and years and years
As a crossdresser.
as a crossdresser. And then
Okay.
I started to think about, being in the community. And there's always this push and pull about what transgender means.
Mm,
So I live under this grand transgender umbrella, but there's a
mm,
subset of formerly known as transsexuals, who are
mm.
also transgender. So you have a big umbrella, and then you have little umbrella, and then, two-spirit and cross-dressing and agender. We all live in and around and under it. So I started realizing, well, but crossdresser is not, it doesn't tell me who I am as a gender. It just tells me what I do to express it. So
Yeah.
in order for
It's
me
just
to,
the clothes. Actually,
it's just,
cross-dressing just has to nothing. It's just clothes.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like how it is the mechanism used to express myself in my
Mm.
femininity. So really cross dressing is the action, but what is the root?
Whoa. That's
So
cool. I never thought of it that way. That makes total sense.
yeah, and everybody has their own way of coming to it. Cause a lot of people say, I was just a crossdresser once and now I'm
Mm.
transgender. I said, well, no, really, you were always transgender. You just use
Oh.
cross-dressing as a mechanism to find and discover and get on that journey's path. So for me, I look at myself as gender expansive.
Mm.
Um, I look at myself as dual gender because I live predominantly as a male in life.
Wow.
So Savannah is only around for you. I dressed up like this for you. And
Oh, thank you.
also,
You
you're
look
so welcome. Thank you.
beautiful.
And just doing this is how I get to express myself through cross dressing,
Mm.
what Savannah is and how she represents herself and how she has an identity and how she has a full scope of work. She has a body of work that
Mm.
is purely hers.
Mm.
Whereas Chuck, my male side, has a body of work that's purely his.
Wow.
And so it's like there is a full identity here. And it's not just a cross dressing identity, it's my identity as a gender expansive person.
Because that's what I'm hearing is cross-dressing. I like this of just to cross-dress just means you put on clothes that are not of the gender that you are define yourself as.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's really interesting is that, I was just watching a little bit of your TED talk. Is that really only goes in one direction of gender. Do you know what I mean? Of
True. Yeah,
of men wearing women's clothes, because it doesn't really work as much if a woman wears man's clothes.
that is very
As
true.
it doesn't that it's not that same huge divide.
Yeah. Well, women, you have to remember women had their own battles. In the
Yeah.
40s. I mean, before World War II, women were very much expected to wear, petticoats and dresses and pearls and a very, very 50s aesthetic that we all
Huh,
remember from like old television shows,
huh,
and Mad Men and Leave It to Beaver. Like women had, looked a certain way. Like you could be a little girl wearing jeans, but when you became a lady, needed to
huh,
become a lady. But
huh,
in the 40s, when World War II hit, and women were in the workforce and you can't necessarily wear the clothes you're wearing, and all of a sudden jeans are more appropriate as your work uniform. And so there was a lot of struggles to overcome for women to be able to wear clothing more male centric, I guess, if you want to
huh.
say that. But now it's many decades later, and women wear jeans, women wear t-shirts, women wear whatever,
Blazers.
pretty much anything they want to wear.
Yeah.
If it's male coded or female coded, it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But like you said, if you touch the opposite way, like a man wants to wear a skirt, then all of a sudden that female coding is like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Like, we can't have that.
Why do you think it's so uh there's like a cringe in our body when the male wants to explore something outside of his boxed, boring gray, brown, and white?
Yeah, I think it is. Well, if you remember in like the late 90s, early aughts, there was metrosexuals, men who actually took
Oh
care
wow,
of
I have not heard
themselves.
of that term in
Right.
so
Right.
long.
And so there was this kind of idea, even they were like, "Oh, look at those metrosexuals." It was like the men who took care of themselves, who got manicures, who wore nice clothing outside of the office.
Metrosexual.
And it was like they had to be labeled a certain way because, oh, they're even outside the norm of
Huh.
maleness. And but then you got the hipsters, and all of a sudden men start taking more and more care of themselves. And so it became more and more okay to dress a certain way, but still very male coded, even if
Huh.
we're doing pampery things for ourselves.
Huh.
Um, and I think, honestly, to answer the question asked, is we are very patriarchal, especially here
Yeah.
in America. And there is very much this divide of that one wayness. It's like, hey, if you want to be more male as a female to a point, that's fine. But like
Mm.
for men to like give away all that privilege, why would you want to do that? And that
Yeah.
seems like a step down.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about that as well. So how did you become so it feels like you are free and out and you've got it figured out. Like how did you get there? I'm sure you've talked about this a lot, but for this audience, like how did you how were you able to achieve that?
Mm. Daily work. I mean, I've
Mm.
known I've known this about myself since I was 6.
Yeah.
So think about that. We're talking mid 70s, where I
Mhm.
realized there was something about me and about my attraction to clothing that was different than the other little boys.
Mhm.
Um, then, you go through your teenage years, you have all this discovery path, you're hidden, you're in secret because I had a very conservative family and things were said
Mm.
about other people that made me believe very quickly. It's like, ooh, I'm going to keep this to myself. And it wasn't until my 20s where I was in New York. I was going to Lucky Chang's. I was going to the drag scene. I was going to the
Huh.
clubs. I was seeing all this cool stuff, men holding hands in the street, Lucky Chang's, if nobody knows what that is, it's a restaurant that was all drag staffed, from the
Huh.
hostess, the bartender, to the performers, to the servers, all drag. And it was
Wow.
freaking amazing. And so just be in that culture, the culture shock of it was amazing, and be able to like say, you know what? I see that in me. I see not necessarily drag culture, but I see women who are confident and like out there and working a job as that self. And it
Mm.
was like just eye opening for me. And ever since then, it's been a roller coaster of being in relationships where it was kind of tolerated, but then not tolerated, kind of
Right.
celebrated, and then the novelty wore off, and
Right.
accepting myself, but others didn't accept me. So because I'm a people pleaser and I'm a fawner,
Ha
I
ha
tend to just do
ha.
whatever other people need. So I kind of become the thing they want me to be as a sacrifice to myself.
Yeah.
But to your point, it is a daily exercise and ritual to be out in public,
Mm.
because I'm not out in public 100% of the time. Like if I was transitioning, living this life full time, there would be a lot more expected of me to live this life. So
Mhm.
as somebody who, probably 95% of my life is male centric. So only certain people know about me. My parents never knew. My
Mm.
siblings now know. So it is like daily that I can have another coming out to somebody that I want to
Uh,
share with, or like every week I try to go out to a coffee house, to a Starbucks, to just be out in the world.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a practice. It is really, and
Wow.
if you don't practice, you kind of forget how until you get back on that bike again.
That's so interesting. I've never heard it described as that way. That makes so much sense. It's almost like it's like a spiritual practice. It's something that you are doing in order to keep those muscles
Hmm.
strong.
Yeah, you have to, because it's very easy for anybody who has gone through a lot of trauma in their
Mm.
lives to overcome trauma. The only way to overcome trauma in that specific arena of what caused the trauma is to break that cycle doing the same things. And, like,
Ah.
overcoming it's like a relationship trauma. You could do all the self-work you want, but you're never gonna be triggered unless you're in a relationship again by another person. So, it's about, like, I've been hidden for so many years,
Mm.
either for safety, for protecting myself because my partner wanted it that way, me coming to terms, all those things being in play. The only way to break that cycle is to go out, face the wrath of the public, and realize that the wrath of the public doesn't exist.
I love it. Yeah, the perceived threats
Yep.
and being able to be with that. One of the things I'm also assuming that cuz one of the things I am beginning to talk more about that I learned from a teacher recently was sort of this idea of like make the resource bigger than the pain. Cuz my
Mm.
assumption is that in order to do that, in order to have that exposure therapy, like you want to make sure that you're very well resourced
Mhm.
around you, which is like you
Yeah.
have good support systems or you have people like if you do get triggered, you can go back and talk to. You maybe have good therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was that your part of your experience?
It is definitely imperative.
Mm.
Maslow's pyramid says that you need a lot of the foundational things to transcend just the basic needs. And
Mm.
so one of the things I speak about in my second book is how do people like myself who typically operate in private, in secret, have no support system, especially people around the country who are in rural areas, who haven't come out
Yeah.
to their partners or their friends, that they really isolated. And the only thing they have is social media to like have a tether to something. So
Mhm.
the things I wrestled with is how do you like become you
Mm.
in the face of not having a community, not having safety, not
Ugh.
having the people around you that support you. And it is a very daunting task to self actuate and get out
Yes.
there. So it is imperative to have community, to find community, to have a level of vulnerability and safety, have a
Mm.
place to go to, or even if it's in your own home, to be able to explore the space and who you are. It is nearly, I would say, is nearly impossible to achieve without having those very basic elements
Mhm.
to support you in the ways you need to.
That makes so much sense. I talk about that too. It's like a lot of cross dressers when they're coming out for the first time. It's like a puberty. You start off as like this
Hmm.
little baby, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't know how to do your makeup, you don't know how to dress, whatever. But more than that, like you just don't know who you are. Like you have this calling towards this part of yourself, but it's only through like meeting other people. It's like the same as child development. Like you have to play in the playground with other
Hmm.
kids to be able to like mature and learn and grow about
Yeah.
yourself. That's what it
And
seems like what you're saying.
yeah, and hear the stories. I mean, a lot of what defined me, I wrestled with in the '90s when I first like kind of came out to myself. And like begrudgingly so. I was like, okay, I'm
Mm.
accepting this. So I've accepted it. All right. Now I'm self-described, self-labeled. And then, there's these beautiful drag queens going to the clubs in Manhattan. And all of a sudden I'm like, they are so beautiful. I want to be with them. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
wait, does that make me gay? I go, I wasn't gay 10 minutes ago. And now I'm like, so all of a sudden, like you're wrestling with all these binary
Right.
concepts. Like, I didn't think about it until all of a sudden I was faced with it. It took me years to realize that just because a man is dressed as a woman who is beautiful in that guise, and they're a man, doesn't mean that you can't appreciate the beauty of how they're presenting, even if
Mm.
that's not what you're into, like
Mm.
romantically. So all these
Mhm.
things like just jump out at you. So to your point, hearing stories, listening to other people's journeys, finding out what resonates with you and that doesn't resonate with you, and exploring like the ability to do makeup. Like I've had so many makeup artists do work on me before I really knew what I was doing and finding
Mhm.
out like what they thought worked because that's what they do. So like having again a support system to be like to spin you around in that chair to see yourself in the mirror for the first time when somebody else is doing that work for you. And you're just like, wow, I can see what I could be,
Mm,
because I don't have the tools yet to do it for myself. So it's super,
mm,
super important to have that. And it allows you to like grow. Like you said, it allows you to grow, to kind of get your footing, to know what it is you want. Because one thing you said was, you're in your puberty and you're trying to find out what to aspire to. A lot of us have a notion in mind of what we want to be,
mm.
like, when I was a kid, very much I loved Linda Carter as Wonder Woman. I loved watching, Leave It to Beaver and Barbara Billingsley with she's doing housework, but she's got the pearls on and the dress, and, like, I had, like an ideal in mind, but it
Yeah.
took me years to find abandon what I thought I should be and become who I am, like,
Uh,
even from a style sense.
that's really beautiful. I have a question about, um, part of the way that I relate to this working with crossdressers too is that I think it's almost like crossdressers are embodying something that I believe that all men, all humans have access to, right? But specifically all men have access to, whether they are given the tools or the space or to explore it or not, which is like our feminine. We all have feminine, we all have masculine. And I'm curious if you, like, after being so well versed in your own feminine expression, how, like, how do you relate to other men who maybe aren't in the world of exploring their feminine? I don't know, like, I'm gonna put out some things and what sticks, like, do you pity folks? Are you like, "Oh, I could help," I don't know, like, or do you see that, or do you feel like maybe, some people are born trans, some people are not, some people have access to the feminine, some people don't? Like, I was curious if you could talk about that.
Uh, if you're saying a lot of things, and all of it's true. There are some men who are very much the epitome of what we consider masculinity. There are people who are deniers of
Right.
anything that seems less masculine than they are taught to be.
Mm,
There are people who very much have access to both that spirituality of masculine and feminine. I mean, we see it in life all the time. People are seemingly more empathetic, more compassionate. We attribute that to a feminine energy more so than a masculine energy.
mm,
He is a hunter, women are the gatherers. I mean, we've already
mhm,
been taught a very binary sense of
right.
how women and men should stereotypically be in the world.
Mm,
And yet, to your point, every person on this planet has a measure of masculinity and femininity within them.
yeah.
I don't pity anybody who happily presents himself in a way that's healthy,
Yeah.
whether it's like 10% femininity or 80% femininity. For me, it's like whatever that mix is for you, because we can't describe that for any other person than ourselves.
Mm,
I will say for myself, my femininity, I believe I'm very integrated in who I
I can
am.
feel that, I can feel that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So my integration, I'm very empathetic. I believe, maybe too empathetic because I have empathetic
Mm,
reactivity. So like
mm,
somebody's like in pain, I like take it all on, probably more so than they should. But I believe that all the softer traits that I have are as a result of Savannah. It's
mm,
like, and I think I show up in the world as Chuck in very much this very moderated, integrated way. So
mm.
I don't sit here like saying, "Ooh, I have to be less feminine because I'm like dressed a certain way." I
Sure.
try to be just that person. And so if I cry because you're crying, that's going to happen. If I'm going to be at the movies and just be bawling because there's a scene, I'm going to do it because that's just how humanity should be. I'm not tied anymore to the expectation of what I should be. I'm very
Mm,
much like just being who I want to be because that's the happiest way to be. And I do wish that some people who are deniers or really
yeah.
feel the pressure of I have to act a certain way, I'm indoctrinated to be this way, either religiously, culturally, their upbringing, their dad was a certain way, whatever that might look like. I would love for everybody to do a self-assessment to be able to tap into their full energy, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like, not just be do what I'm expected to be and be shut off.
Yeah. It's interesting because as soon as you said that, as soon as you were like, "I don't pity anyone," I took a second, I was like, "Oh, shit." I think I do. Like, and I appreciate how you're just like, "I don't pity anyone who's, like, has a healthy, happy expression of their being," and there's part of me that and I'm kind of catching myself on this is because I don't think I believe I think there's a part of me that doesn't believe that a man who is culturally, indoctrinated into masculinity, who
Mhm.
doesn't have any access to their feminine, I don't I have a there's this like growl inside me of just be like, I don't believe they're healthy. Like I don't
So
think
that's
that
the key. Yeah.
because, like, I don't think they're healthy, and I don't think they're actually happy. And again, this is totally I'm calling myself out for my own bias. I'm like, because this could be right, this could be completely wrong, but it's just sort of like when I see men who I don't feel have much like any access to their feminine,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I f- I f- I believe they are isolated. I believe they don't have real friendships with
Mm,
other men, or that means that like I bet they don't cry in front of other men.
sure.
I bet they maybe they don't cry at all because the feminine within us is the flow, it is the emotional self, it is do you know what I mean? And so like without the feminine, we're sort of corpse. I believe that like if they do believe they're happy, I think they're disassociated from their body.
Sure.
Like there's all of these ways where it's just like I don't know if that's true, and also, like, if they are in the military or the warriors, I guarantee you they have some secret life that's kinky, like,
Yeah,
online, kinky,
sure.
submissive life. I'm curious how this lands for you.
Well, I mean, we all are entitled to our own opinions, and I only
No,
can
mine
speak
is
for
right.
You know what? You're right. It's your show. You're absolutely right.
Thank you, thank you,
You're
thank you.
welcome. I will say there you had said the Warriors, and they have, like, possibly have a secret kink. How many cross-dressing men or transgender men go into warrior fields and
Mm,
careers because they are so desperate to squash any
correct.
echo of their femininity, and they're gonna
Right.
do this hard, dangerous, structured job in order to be a man, because that will
Yeah,
prove that they're a man.
right.
That does happen, of course, and that is why I made that asterisk notion of, like, healthy. And
Yeah.
healthy is not defined by the people who are so deep in denial. They
Right.
think they're healthy, but are
Uh,
not. I am really talking about those people who are healthily in touch with both sides. And it may be just 5%, it may be 80%. And as long as they can express that,
huh.
I cherish their way of coming to the table. I don't have pity for the people who don't. I have concern and I have just hurt in my heart for people who
Yeah.
can't get there, who are like overly maybe aggressive, or they're hiding something and they push it away so hard that it is unhealthy for them and others and their relationships and their way of being with themselves.
Huh.
Those are the people that I would love for them to have that access.
Huh.
And it's not a pity, it's just like a wish. It's a wish and a hurt that they can't get there, because you're right. They are going to disassociate. They are going to isolate. They are going to push people away. They are going to be more aggressive and maybe hurtful to people and themselves. They may have
Mm.
substance abuse problems. All these
Yes.
things could be because of this deep seated just like suppression and oppression of that femininity that they
Mm.
feel is dangerous for them if they were to let it out.
Mm. Yeah, I appreciate the compassion and the reframing of the compassion. I'm just like, "No, I feel so sorry for them, like, they're not whole," and you're like, "Or I we could just love them exactly as they were."
Yeah, and then maybe if we
Mm,
love them as we are, they eventually could come to a point of loving
of
themselves
course.
better. So,
Yeah, I love that, thank you. Well done, well done. That's such a mature answer. I'm also recognizing 'cause I'm just like, "Okay, what would a man look like or a person look like who is purely in their masculine and really does not have much access to their feminine? And actually, I wonder if maybe the archetype of a monk. The archetype of a
Mm,
monk feels like the archetype where I could be like, okay, yeah, they are like happily in their masculine, which is like awareness. It's perceiving. It's like the void. It's emptiness is part of how
interesting.
the masculine wants to be free, where it is like a studied spiritual practice of the masculine. It's like, okay, that would feel. I'm sure a monk would be like, bitch, like we integrated.
I was like, "Listen, I take every ladybug and I put it,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like so there's a lot of compassion, and I mean, we're not talking about Buddhist monks necessarily,
yeah.
but like the that is a sense of being of thyself, right?
Yeah.
So in that practice, it is funny because, as you said, I'm thinking of like vow of celibacy, vow of poverty, vow of silence, all the things, a vow of sacrifice.
Right.
And interestingly enough, is like, I don't think we need to sacrifice. Like, I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything of myself to be who I am other than people's perception of me.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so,
well, because a monk is also it's like the sacrifice of the body, which
yeah.
is where the feminine lives.
Mm,
Like the feminine is a bodily experience. It is sensation, it is flow, which is why dressing is so associated with the feminine. It's because of all of the bodily, this is my
the
understanding of
tactile.
it.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
tactile. It's got it's got power to it. Like I say this often that sometimes the clothes give us the power and sometimes
Yeah.
we give the power to the clothing. So
Yes.
there's very much a very sensory experience, whether it's the tactile nature of the material, the compression of the clothing on the
Mm.
body,
Yeah.
even just the reshaping of the body to appear
Mhm.
different. I have a lot less hair under this hair than as a man, so like being able to put in different color eyes, the hair, different hairs, different makeup. There's such a it very much such a sensory experience that
Mhm.
is almost total. It's in total, especially for us who are full identifiers and not just like I put on, some lingerie and call it a day. I
Mhm.
mean, there's all levels of like what that sensory experience feels for you, how
Mm.
your body reacts to it. Of course, in our youth, we there was more sexual tension associated with our dressing. And
Hmm.
as you mature and as you have more routine and more freedom to do the thing, you find that you don't just dress for sensual experience or release. It's more of just being part of who you
Mhm.
are. So I think some people get both the cross dressing individual and possibly their spouses or partners get very concerned about, oh, it's only in a bedroom, it's only a sexual experience. And
Right.
I think the more you actually do that work to find out who you are, you're gonna find it really mm, I'm not gonna say all the time, but a lot of times it has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with the feeling of the body. Like and how that
Mm.
brings you calm and the dopamine. And I know people who like they have those watches that do your heart rate and the heart
Mhm.
rate, let's say, is set to a certain like 110 beats, I don't know, per minute. But as soon as they dress, it drops like 30 beats.
Yes. So interesting. Well, actually, that's actually a great question and a great segue because I think it's funny when you start to bring a lot of a lot of space and curiosity and nuanced, like more sophisticated conversations to cross-dressing. Oftentimes I feel like the sexuality or the eroticism is not the exploration of that is not often the focus of the
Hmm.
conversation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, why do you think that is? And exactly what you said, which is where it's like in the beginning, like it feels like very hypersexual, and then as you mature, like it becomes more than that. But there's this feeling that I've seen, which is sort of like, oh, it's not just sexual for me, almost like a
Mm,
defensiveness. Like
very
it's not just
defensive.
sexual,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, I'm more than that. I'm more sophisticated. I'm more like whatever. I'm not just this guy masturbating on the internet. Like,
Hmm.
and there's part of me that feels a little bit of grief in that because it's like you also get to be like this also gets to be sexual.
Yes. And
And
that's
I'm wondering if
you.
you could
Oh yeah. I
if you
mean,
could talk to
you
it.
are
Yeah.
so right because while I was speaking to the hypersexuality of it, and then you made the perfect point of we defend the fact that it's not just sexual because
Yeah.
there is already a stigma built into the idea of a man
Yeah.
cross-dressing. As soon as you say that, you're like, are you gay? Are you doing drag or transitioning? Is it just sexual? And the point is perfectly made by you, which is why can't it be both? I mean,
You get
this
to be a whole human.
yes, exactly. Why do we have to divorce our sexuality and sensuality from the fact that we are presenting in a certain way? Because
Mm.
inherently, dressing this way, like we said before, is tactile sensation. It's sensory. It's like, and if your body is in tune with that, dopamine's flowing, the serotonin's going, all the love drugs are just like pouring out of you. And there's like no reason to be like, well, this is just because I like dressing this way, not because it's sexy or sensual or I feel good in my body. It's like we
Yeah.
always try to separate those two ideas because of the fact that it's been long associated to
Yeah.
it being a sexual deviancy or a taboo.
Yes.
And so we tried very hard to like normalize it to the people we're talking to say, no, no,
Uh-huh.
no, 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 it's not just that. It's like, it's more than that. I almost don't like sex this way. It's like
Yes,
you
that's
go
exactly
hard the other way.
it's just like, "Oh, no, no," like, most of the time, it's not even sexual for me, and I'm
No, no,
like,
no, no. I just like getting a
"Guy,
beer.
yeah, yeah, exactly." It's like, but, there's yeah, and so can you share a little bit, if you feel comfortable? I'd love to hear a little bit about, like, what is your erotic journey? Like, what has your erotic journey been like with Savannah, and if any discoveries you'd like to feel
Mm.
comfortable sharing?
I mean, it's funny. I just had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and I don't really get into it too much, but there is I've had moments in my life. Like I
Mm,
said, when I talked about feeling like, am I gay? What's going on here? I don't know
right.
what to make of this. And my whole body, again, because it was sexual and presentational, I didn't know how to separate those two ideas, even though they
Mhm,
live in parallel swim lanes. But like I thought
mhm,
they were tied together. So
mhm,
like if I was attracted to a beautiful drag queen, then that must mean I am X. That I must be attracted romantically, sexually to that. That means I'm gay. It
mhm,
took me a long time to unravel that, and I've had some experiences with other drag queens, with other gender expansive people, to see
mhm.
what felt right to me. And I will say that
Wow.
there was times where I'm like, well, that was interesting. But it didn't like fulfill me. There was nothing in my heart that felt
Right.
like, oh my God, this is, yes, I see where my journey is leading to. And without
Yeah.
getting into minutia, it is a requirement a lot of times. You can't just speculate on your
Mm,
sexuality, like, especially when it is us. In us, I mean gender expansive people. We are kind of given a hard road because one, X means X and then X means Y, because if you're dress that way, you must like the opposite sex all of a sudden. And that doesn't preclude that. That doesn't say
mhm.
that like I'm not bisexual or I'm not gay or I'm not X, or if I'm a transitioning male to female and I have bottom surgery, but I'm still attracted to women, does that now make me gay? I'm a lesbian? Like
Yeah.
we start labeling everything, and I think what happens is that the farther you get into your erotic journey or your sensual journey or your sexual journey, your romantic journey, I think, at least for me, it's like I've stopped worrying about what that looks like. And I
Mm,
just honestly, I just love the person I love at the end of the day.
mm,
It's like, and that's all that should matter. And I know people get hung up on genitalia, people got hung up on self labels, people get hung up on all sorts of things that keep them from living a loving life with a person.
mm,
One of the things that came up on Facebook a few times. It happens like once a year. There's a meme that says, "If you found out I was trans, would you still date me?"
Hmm.
And in my head, I'm like, well, okay, so let me game this out because I love gaming things out. It's like, so if I was dating somebody, I found them on Tinder or FetLife or whatever, and we started dating, and then 6 months later they say, "Oh, by the way, I used to be a man." Now, what has changed between the moment up to that admission and after?
Hmm.
The only thing
Yeah.
is I found out you used to have something between your legs that you no longer have, but yet I've been attracted to you for 6 months. What has changed? Nothing has changed.
Hmm.
So I think it becomes the more you have confidence in yourself and who you are and what you are attracted to. And I'm not saying,
Hmm.
I say what as terms of the qualities you're attracted to.
Right.
That may include something more expansive, or it may be very cis related that, that's what you love because that's the body that you love. But if you were a post op trans woman, would that body look any different? And if you love that
Hmm.
person, why would it be different?
Hmm.
It's like it's a struggle because there's so much association there. And there's a struggle in that we try to separate it. And there's a struggle that you don't need to separate it. But what
Yeah.
you need to do is just find out what it is in your sexual and romantic attractions that work for you and
Hmm.
just be that person.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. And are you in a can I ask if you're in a relationship right now?
I was, up until recently, up until
Mm.
early 2026, and, it was one of these relationships, just to give just quick commentary, is that
Yeah.
she was very much trying to love me for
Mhm.
both sides of me.
Yeah.
We were in therapy for 3 years, 4 years, trying
Wow.
to get back to a point of like, can we integrate Savannah into this relationship so that there is not a rejection of one part of me and an acceptance of the
Yeah.
other part of me. So we tried, we tried, we tried. I think we both realized that it just wasn't meant to be. We were both trying to accommodate the other and never
Mm.
really being fully ourselves. And so, we came to that point early this year that it just wasn't gonna work. And obviously there was sadness, there was tears, there was anger, all the things. And yeah, I think both of us, as the dust is settling, that we're finding where we should be for ourselves. And
Yeah.
that is like the most important thing. So
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah.
How's your heart these days?
I mean, it's still, I'm in the house all by myself now, and then there's no
Yeah.
other. I mean, you might have heard a couple dogs in the background a couple seconds ago, but it's different. It's a different world,
Yeah.
it's a different life, it's a different coming to myself again and finding out what
Mhm.
that looks like, and then finding out what it is I want going forward. What does that look
Yeah.
like? So it's kind of all in flux. I am doing good.
Mm.
I'm kind of loving life. I'm trying to get myself out there. Just 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 be more me and like be unapologetic for
Yeah.
being me and be like, if I decided after we got done talking today to go out to dinner or late dinner, I'd do it. And just like
Mm.
go do the thing and not even worry about it.
Mm.
So
What I'm also really in you sharing your story, I'm also really feeling this deep reverence to what it takes for somebody who's gender expansive or bigender to like hold on to that part of themselves in relationship because there are so few representations of a relationship that between a I'm guessing your previous partner was cis female.
yes, correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
between a cis female and a bigender person.
Yeah.
We just don't see it, and so, like, what it takes, the self-actualization and refusal of self-betrayal of what it takes to, like, hold on to that, because I'm curious, like, was there any part of you that ever thought, like, "Man, if I could just be one gender for this person, it would be easier." Did you ever f experience that?
Well, the answer is it would have been easier, but that would have been a
Mhm.
betrayal to me. Um,
Absolutely.
Now, to be fair, Savannah was revealed day one.
Mm.
So this
Yeah.
was not a 5 year in, let me tell you something about myself. So
Amazing.
so
That
it
must have
was,
made things easier.
easier in a way because it's a known quantity. but
Mhm.
more difficult because she wasn't familiar with what it meant. So
Yeah.
that means she had to learn and I had to slow down. So there was already
Right.
to that reverence of self, I had to pump the brakes on my identity so that she could catch up, learn, become comfortable with, etc. And so we found a balance at some point. And then
Mhm.
as I am growing, we moved from New York, Long Island down to South Carolina, which is where I am now, which is
Mm.
I've never been more visible than moving down to a conservative red state. So go
Mm.
figure. But I had to be out in the world because I started seeing like trans youth like needing safe spaces, and I started seeing P flag going to meetings with them and seeing people who are in need, and the way I felt I could be of service was to be more visible and more out in
Mm.
the world, do my advocacy, write more books, do the podcasting, do all the things that would help
Mm.
others. So in that, my journey changed in terms of how much Savannah was needed in the world and for myself. And that became inequitable. That became unbalanced.
Oh,
So there was a
wow.
limit, unfortunately, where reverence could be kept. And then there was a point where I would have to kind of just keep the peace and do less or be less because I didn't want to hurt my partner. So they're
Mhm.
trying to have reverence for themselves and their truth. I'm trying to do it for
Absolutely.
myself. And unfortunately
Absolutely.
it wasn't an equal trade. And so there was always
Well,
something one of us or both of us were suffering as a result of both her trying to be more supportive and more cherishing of this part of me, while she felt
mhm.
she was losing the male part of me, and me
Mm.
trying to hold on to my female side, and not giving it away. So
Mm.
it became very, just uneven, unequitable, imbalanced, and, it showed. And, so we
Mm.
started growing in different directions, and like I said, I never wanted her hurt. I never wanted her to try to be something she was not just for
Yeah.
me. And how do I hold reverence for myself while I'm seeing that in my partner?
Mm.
So it was a lot.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I just feel like it's so important to hear stories of what of exploration between couples, especially as somebody who is out. And it just like I can tell like it's almost like Savannah is part of your calling. Like Savannah is part of your purpose in this earth. And so it's like it's not something that what I'm hearing is it's not something that you can like dim or slow down or you know what I mean, give up any sense of it because it is an essence to who to why you're here. Does that sound
Yes.
right?
I agree. And we are really good at compartmentalizing
Mm.
for a period of time. It happened. We do it all the time. I mean, as a child, all I did was compartmentalize. All I did was do everything in secret. All I did was make sure that any article of clothing I took out of a drawer got put back exactly the same.
Wow.
We'd be great covert spies because we
Yeah.
spent a lot of time doing covert things. That
Right.
being said, we compartmentalize. We have to. We can. It's important. It's imperative, especially if you're in a closet.
Yeah.
Um, but the more out of and again, it was funny, there was one time that my partner had said, "Well, why can't you just dress at home?"
Mm.
And so I thought about it because, why can't I just dress at home? Why can't we just have a night? We'll play a card game and we'll have dinner and watch TV, and that should be enough. And
Yeah.
then my answer was, when I really thought about it, was this just means a bigger closet. That just means a house is not my closet.
Ah. Hmm.
And so I'm not,
Wow.
yeah. So like I need to be out because there is something validating about a partner who loves you for the way
Mhm.
you are. And there's also that social contract of the validation you get by being in the world.
Mm.
Because to be hidden is still to be hidden. For one person
Mm.
to keep you secreted away on your behalf is still being secreted away. So
Mm.
going out to Starbucks on a Sunday and just sitting on my computer and editing a podcast or writing or doing whatever felt like a win. It felt like I was in a world people could see me. I had to face it if something
Mm.
bad were to occur. And then I'm like discovering now, because my friend groups are different. They're expanding, they're getting more diverse. And it's like, even just going to Starbucks is kind of lonely. I was like, I want to interact with more people, I want to live life more fully. So it is an ever expanding and evolving journey, like to not just be this person who dresses for 10 minutes to masturbate and release.
Right.
It's this is my, like you said, this is part of who I am. This is the a construct that was given me, and I am trying to make the most of it to like be my best self.
And I also really hear the generosity, the deep generosity that you have in the and bringing the lessons that you have learned as a work, as a something that you share with other people, whether it just being seen, like you said, being seen is part of the advocacy.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I'm
is gorgeous.
Thank you. I mean, I'm not a flag waver. I am not like I'm not a pride marcher. That's
Mhm.
not where my advocacy lives and thrives.
Sure.
And again, everybody has their own way to advocate, and some are loud, some are aggressive, some are, loud and proud. I am very quiet. I'm very
Mm.
kind of guerrilla warfare, like just in the trenches, one on one.
I love
And even
that.
with the work that I do, whether it be the writing, the podcast, the TEDx, it's about just reaching just one more person.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think that's where sometimes it's lonely because you don't see the effect that you have on people. But I've heard
Mhm.
from people in India, in Belgium, in Germany, in Ireland, and here in the States. I've heard from people who said, I heard your story, Savannah, and it
Mhm.
resonated with me and it gave me the language to speak for myself. And that's
Mm.
honestly, that's the most rewarding thing I could have from it.
I love that so much. So I'm curious now, because it sounds like you have so much more, information, and it sounds like you and your ex-partner, went to years of therapy. So I'm guessing like you just learned so many skills and information through that time. What would be your ideal structure of Savannah in your life with a partner?
Like we kind of said earlier, I am integrated. So I
Uh-huh.
would love to have a relationship where it almost wouldn't matter how I got out of bed that day. Like if my partner
Mm.
was downstairs making coffee or making breakfast, they would see Savannah or would see Chuck rolling into the kitchen and be like, "Oh, hey, babe." And it would be like
Mm.
a non thing. It would like, there are things that are a little bit different between Savannah and Chuck. Like Savannah loves to dance. Chuck's
Mm.
like, he's getting more comfortable with it. There are certain things that are different, but
Yeah.
like I would love a partner who just doesn't see it, that doesn't just sees their person. And it
Mm.
doesn't matter how I appear because again, we said at the onset, it's just clothes.
Mm.
So while it describes this entity that is
Mhm.
Savannah, at the end of the day, it's still the same person. It's still the same person who wants to give you a hug, the same person who wants to hold your heart close. Is like that. I'm still that person regardless of how I show up. And
Mm.
I would love a partner who has that capacity. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like it's almost like you would want like 50-50 split. You know what I mean? In terms of just like it could be the amount of times that you spend in Savannah versus the amount of time of Chuck, like you would want more.
No, ironically, I don't really need more physical time. Like,
Okay.
if I got more time, like, once a week, twice a week, that'd be great. I would love that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it takes a minute to get ready, so I can't
Yeah.
just roll out of bed, put on a t-shirt, call it good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be, like, 50% of my time I'm Savannah. Because right now, I think I did a formula on ChatGPT, and it, like, came out to be, like, 3% of my
Ah.
physical time in the world is spent in Savannah.
Okay. Wow.
That includes underdressing, that includes percentages,
Got
but I
it.
don't need Savannah to show 50% of the life.
Yeah.
It's just like the freedom to be that person and be seen as the person, not
Mm.
like necessarily like, "Oh, you're dressed this way today? Okay, now I gotta reset my brain to, like, accept
Mm.
that." It's like, just like you roll up and it's like, "Oh, hey, babe. Oh, you okay, you're dressed that way? Okay, okay."
I feel that. I feel that. It's also like what I'm hearing is like this desire for a significantly more gender inclusive culture
Mhm.
of just like
Yeah.
all around where just all of it is celebrated and all of it is yeah, lovingly accepted.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we live in a world in the 21st century where
Mhm.
there was more acceptance about transness and cross dressing in the 80s with Dustin Hoffman,
Mm.
Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, like where it was like parody, of course,
Mm.
but it was like
Gotcha.
out there. People were like, oh, look at that funny movie, Tootsie. Oh, we should go see it. It's going to be hilarious. Where it was like kind of becoming mainstream, or at least enough to be a punchline, not necessarily like in the
Mm.
greatest way, but, parody. And then here we are 40 years later with hundreds of bills being
Yeah.
introduced on every state house in a union, at
Yeah.
least conservatively, to try to ban something, ban
Yeah.
child, care, ban access to medical, ban, the ability to do drag where a child may see you. Like,
Mm.
if you're like, make sure that you're in a bar where, you can't have any children there because you may corrupt them. Is that like,
Mm.
so there's a worry. I had a worry and I still have a worry that I could be walking down the street, be considered a performer and taken
Mhm.
off to jail just because I'm dressed this way.
Mm.
So, we've definitely taken many, many steps backwards. It's very divisive and it's scary, but that just means I just need to be more visible.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any organizations that you've been really inspired by that are doing work in this way?
Um, I honestly, my friends are my advocates. I mean, I
Mm.
can't tell you how many people I've met through my work that have now become champions in their own right. I did
Mm.
speak about PFLAG. I mean, that was a group of people who were very instrumental to me becoming more comfortable here in South Carolina in the upstate.
Wow.
But I've met so many people that have become advocates, they become voices because at the end of the day, when it comes to trans advocacy,
Mhm.
a lot of it is that we want you to be on our shoulders. We want you to be up. We want to elevate you without you having to struggle the same way we did.
Yeah.
A lot of times you find out people want you to pay your dues before you like get enlightenment. But for us,
Mm.
it's just like, no, we want you to just have happiness day one. And how do we
Right,
get you there?
right.
So I can't speak to a specific organization. I mean, I know the ACLU are doing a
Mhm.
lot for human rights. They are championing us on a grand scale, but all the people I know are fighting it on the ground
Mm,
and
I
just
love
doing the
that.
thing.
Thank you so much for sharing. And so we're going to start wrapping up the podcast.
Okay.
And just like, is there, what would be one form of advice for you to give to other people who are beginning to explore to get into this deeply integrated space that you've achieved?
There's so much I could say. Hopefully, I've said much of it already.
I
Um,
agree.
there is, like I said it before, that a lot of people don't have the language
Mm,
to speak for themselves or even to answer questions given them about themselves. And that
yeah.
is a hard road, especially with partnerships where the wife, the spouse, the girlfriend is asking a question and you just have no answer. So, my advice to anybody who is exploring the gender expansive space for themselves is one, trying to be as completely honest as you can about it, because the
Mm-mm.
longer you deny truth, the harder a road is going to be.
Yeah.
Two, find, like we said before, resources, community, listen to stories, read, do the diligence that will make your language, your ability to speak on your own behalf grander and more succinct. Like
Mm,
just be able to have that knowledge base for yourself. And then three, and I'm kind of guilty of being this kind of person, so I can't speak for everybody, but I'm always assessing. Like, for years, I would say, "Do I want to transition?" Like, once a year, almost like as an anniversary, I would say, "How do I feel about this? Do I feel like I want to do more? Do I feel like I want to have cosmetic, chemical, medical changes? I mean, am I happy the way I am?" And, like, I always come back to that because, again, just because I had the answer a year ago doesn't mean that's the
mm,
same answer. So that's why I say it's a constant practice. It's an everyday routine.
yeah.
It is a ritual to just think and just feel that center and where you are and what it needs to be in order for you to be your happiest self. And don't let any of the noise pull you away from your truth.
Mm,
Like, we get so pulled into like what other people think, like what people are thinking about the community. So maybe I'm a little more frightened about the truth of me. Like try to block out the noise and just be you. Be the best
Mm.
you. And the only way to do that is just kind of meditate and just give yourself space and give yourself love and compassion and do the work.
What a beautiful way to end this podcast. Thank you so much, Savannah. You are such a treat.
Oh,
And can you share where people can find you and your work?
sure. On Facebook and Instagram, you can find me at Savannah Hauk. Also,
HAUK.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Also livingwithcrossdressing.com, and that's
Mm.
also on Facebook. You can find the Fox and the Phoenix podcast. That's me and my co-host Julie Rubenstein, a cis ally, and we're rounded up to 275 episodes. So
My
yeah,
gosh.
we've been doing it. Thank
Congratulations.
you. We've been doing it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so find us there. Start at one or start the latest. You have access to that. And then you can find my books, Living with Cross Dressing. There's three of those in the series. And those all can be found on Amazon and any other digital download outlets.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much, Savannah.
Thank
And
you.
that is it for this episode of Soul Kink Therapy. Thank you, everyone who joined in, and we will see you next week.